Hi, I'm Corinne Galla, and I know a lot of you who know me from being here at Backstreet are used to thinking of me as an oil painter, but I have a little treat for you today, and I wanted to talk about what we're going to do to make an almost instant pastel drawing that is going to be very dynamic and full of strong color, and I think you'll enjoy doing this a lot. So let's go ahead and get started. What I've brought today is the paper that we're going to be working on, and this is actually a heavyweight oil paper that's made by the Arches company, and it was created for wet or dry media, but you can use it for the pastels. It's very hardy and stiff and strong. But I will say this too, if you do this at home and you want to use a different color, I've brought some suggestions here today, and what I've brought with me are 3 different colors. This is just regular watercolor paper. It's a 140-pound watercolor paper. And I also have a couple of different colors of pastel paper that you can use that are a little bit lighter weight than what we're going to be working on today, but they're nice, warm, and dark colors that you can use to create this same kind of idea. I will say this too, if you enjoy, after today's lesson, the look of the black background that we're going to be using, you can always take any type of art paper and color it yourself with a black acrylic wash, probably 2 coats, I would suggest. Let it dry, and you're going to get roughly the same kind of effect. So you can create your own black art paper at home without much trouble at all. So let me set these aside, and I want to show you some of the examples that I have that I've brought today that I created at my studio on the Black Arches paper. These are all floral still life, and you can see they're all in different variations. We've got a couple of different portrait orientations, and here's one landscape. Now, we're going to be using a limited palette. What you see here today, I've broadened that out into a few extra colors that we're not necessarily going to be using, but I want this to be very simple. And frankly, we're looking at just a really quick project for everybody. This is the image that we're going to be working off of today, this portrait orientation, the vertical orientation. So let me take these 2 down, and we'll just go ahead and get started. I've got a full stick of pastel here, but all I'm going to do is snap it right into, because these are much easier to work with when you have this size. Also, I want to show you how to take these half sticks and make some of the marks that we're going to be making today. So these are square. You may end up with some slightly rounded ones in your kit, and if you do, that's fine too. So because they're square, I've got some nice edges. I can make some good lines, or I can use a line that's like that and get a lot of work out of just one mark. And then this is a great way to do this also. Let me take the green. I'm going to lay the stick down flat like that and just get a really nice fat mark out of that. And if you look over here on the piece that we're using as our example, you can kind of tell where those kinds of marks have been made. So that's where we're going to start today. Now, we've got a really nice floral arrangement here. The one that I did, this one right here, was done from real life, but rather than doing a setup for you with a live still life, I think it's much simpler to try to work from this piece. All your shadows are in, your color combinations are already right there. The guesswork has pretty much been taken away, which is good. So what I'm going to do, we have just a representation of a glass vase with some really abstract flowers in it. So let's go ahead and get started. Usually when we're doing oil painting, we go from dark colors to light colors, but with pastels, you can work in any way that you want and work in the opposite direction if you want to with your lights. So Actually, I'm going to take my white pastel right here and go ahead and get started and make some marks that are going to help me represent the shape of this vase. So let's do that. I've got a half stick of white and I'm just going to make a couple little marks here and there. And that's where we're going to get started. We'll put one down here at the bottom just to say, okay, that's where the base of it will be. So let's start out with some of these really nice reds that we have up here in this sample piece. And I've got my red stick of pastel right here. And I'm just going to put some reference marks. I want to make sure that I kind of get out toward the edges of the paper and make kind of an irregular area that goes all the way up toward the top. And then all I'm going to do is represent some of these floral shapes with the side of that red pastel. I'm going to bear down a little bit. I don't want too much of the black peeking through, so I want to make some really strong marks right there. And with the corner, I can go ahead and illustrate a little bit of some of the edges of the petals. So let's just do that. And that looks pretty random right now, but actually that's going to help build the basis for what these flowers look like. Now, here's a trick that you can always try with pastels. Just take your finger and move the chalk a little bit, and that'll give you an idea of different kinds of textures. It'll soften up the pastel. It'll make it look like it is behind other colors. And in fact, what we're going to do now is take some of our orange and some of our purple and start building in some color right on top of that. So here's another petal right there. And we'll pull some of these oranges out toward the end and pull that red and orange together, and that's going to look really pretty. So don't forget about the middle. Sometimes we as artists tend to work out from the sides inward and forget about what's going on in the center. Now, if you want to create some lighter colors and pull those forward, blending pastels can be done. You don't always have to have the exact color like you might if you were, let's say, painting with acrylics. So you can take your white pastel and pull that right back over top of one of the other colors and push that together just a little bit, and you'll get a nice variation on that orange and that red combination. So let's start moving some of the other pieces of this image together. And I have my green half stick now, and I'm just going to, in a couple of strokes, indicate, oh yeah, there's some leaves right there. So let's put those in. It is almost random, as you can probably tell. Now, when I do glass bases, what I like to do is to take that impressionist's trick and just pull all my colors down into the vase. So I'm just going to put a little bit of green down in here. I'm just going to barely put some red through there. And that's going to be the beginning of how these colors are going to be pulled all the way through the pastel painting. Oh, and by the way, I do say painting instead of drawing. Professional pastelists will often tell you that their pastels are paintings and not drawings. So let's put some more lights in here. I'm going back to my white color, and I want to get up underneath, and I want to get down in here and start showing that I have a shape of a vase. And now, background. Let's anchor this onto a surface. You can see from the example that I've brought that there's an angular tabletop in the back. And I'm going to use my orange for that in this case. This one was more of a brown, almost a burnt sienna, but I'm just going to pull that out this way and up that way, and that's going to be my area of perspective. I'm going to put some lights on the background now, right on the edge of the table. So I have my orange half stick again, and I'm just going to come in here randomly like this. I want to move it a little bit with my finger, kind of soften that up. And we'll put some hard marks in there, so to speak, later on with the corner of these little sticks. And that is where you're going to get these wonderful little marks that really accent that and bring it forward. One of the things that I wanted to mention too is, yes, pastels are dirty. So make sure that you have some paper towels on hand. And here's a little trick I want to teach you as you're going through your drawing, your painting. I'm working today vertically, but I recommend when you try this, you might want to work flat on a tabletop surface. And what's going to happen when that happens is that reach over here and get a pastel that I showed you earlier. Chalk dust and grit and drift is going to occur. That's the drift of the grains of the chalk. So from time to time, what you can do is take this, your almost completed painting in hand, and just go like that on the back of it. That will cause the excess dust to move off of your painting. One of the other things that you can do too while you're working, get a little soft brush, just something that's, it could be like a simple faux sable. You don't want to have a really stiff china bristle, but you can also move your pastel around a little bit with that. But you always want to take it and get the dust out of it after you're done using it. I don't recommend using the brush on a really regular basis when you're doing something like this, because those strong marks are going to be really important for this kind of drawing. So let's go ahead and finish up part of the colors in the vase, because we want to bring those nice purples and blues in here. So I have a half stick of purple. It's a lighter purple. It's that shade right there, and I think it's going to work for us as a nice highlight color too, both in the vase and up here in the area where the florals are. But let's go ahead and just make some marks in that vase. You can see there are random areas of that color right in here. And all I've done again is I've used the side of my pastel stick, and then I'm going to put just a little bit. I want to reflect that in the bottom. I'm going to bring a little bit of it up here. And you can see now that we've started to build up some of that idea of glass and light and the permeability of the glass, where we can see through into what's behind it. Let's add some greens in there. The green that I have, as you saw, is a very strong, hearty color. So I'm going to be softening that up with some whites right now. But first I want to get my green marks down, and it's going to look really nice next to that purple. It's just such a wonderful color combination. So I'm going to do that. But then I want to come back over top of it with my white and just clean that value up just a little bit. And of course, by value, I mean the lightness or darkness of the color. So in this case, we're changing it to a little bit lighter color of green. There we go. Okay, and let's continue on. We want to get a little bit more light up in here. I'm using the side of my chalk, and then I'm going to pull that down with my finger and just make it a little bit softer than it was. I have a little orange right here. We can see that one on this side too. And then I'm going to make those a little bit less strong, because once again, I'm going to come back in over top of those with the stronger marks. So let's finish up some of these light colors in the florals. We're almost done. And I'm going to come right up in the top with a white and just catch that light we've got. As we can see from the sample, our light is coming from our left side, so we want to catch some of that over here. Put a strong one there just to help me find a pathway through this area. But let's bring some over in here and kind of change that value to a lighter one. Now, pastels are great because you can overpaint right away, draw right over top of them. One of the things I really like, once again, about this Arches oil paper, even though it does not have the what's called the tooth or the texture of normal pastel paper that I showed you earlier in those two other colors, it actually holds a lot of chalk. And you can get a really nice result from just using color on top of color. Okay, so I'm going to come again in here. And what do we have? We need to probably get some of those ideas of the floral centers put down. You can see there are some small marks on the sample, kind of in an orangey tone. But in this case, we're going to use our yellow. And we'll come back over in here, do a little center of the flower, a little something right there, mark down there. And I'm going to drag a little bit of it down here next to my greens. Okay. Let's brighten up a couple more of those flowers. And then, I beg your pardon, we're going to add a little bit of color back here on the tabletop. We're going to put a little bit more highlight on the vase. And we're done. So let's go ahead and build in some of that color back in here. Now we're not using a reddish brown today. I'm going to start once again with my orange. I've used it on the side, and I'm going to bring it around just like 3 or 4 strokes. But because I want to darken it down a little bit, I'm going to use its complementary color, which is a blue, and I'm going to pull that across and down. It's going to give us an idea of green, but that's going to look great. Let's put a little bit of reflection here on the table. Okay, and last but not least, I'm going back in again with the white. I want to finish up some highlight marks on here. And although I'm holding the pastel on the side, I'm actually using that corner to make long lines. Very seldom do I paint with the tip of the chalk. So in this case, you can see right down there that edge. Let's put a little light green in there like we had on the other side. And to do that, once again, we're going to use 2 colors. We're going to do the green, pull the white right back on top of it. And in this case, I'm going to come across in here and put just a little bit more white. I'll make a purple. I kind of like how that turned out. I'm going to sign it. So I hope you like this today. It's quick and easy to do. It takes a few minutes of your time and you've got some instant artwork to frame. Don't forget to frame your pastels under glass. And just a couple more things. Oh, and don't forget to pop that chalk off the front of it. You'll get all that extra dust away. Now, almost forgot. Now that we're done, I'm going to tell you a secret. You can actually erase pastels. So if you have a little oops somewhere that you might think you want to change, this is just a white synthetic eraser. You can clean up lines. You can take away areas to make the black show back through. But wait till you get to the end to do that. Okay, now, I hope you enjoyed what we had here today and that you can try this for yourself at your home studio too. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for watching my video.